Is school choice, primarily private school choice, but Senator Goodall will also be discussing the development in the area of charter schools, so I think I'd let him speak to that first, our Joint Caucus leader.
Good morning. As you probably know now, last week the President, in talking about education, said caps instituted by some states on how many aren't allowed, he said the caps instituted by some states on how many are allowed aren't, quote, good for our children, our economy, or our country. And that's the President of the United States. He's also talked about merit pay and other issues that our Republican caucus has talked about earlier in the first press conferences we had. I just want to remind you that in the General Assembly, some of our leaders, even people involved in on the education committees, have talked about our cap being at cap not needing to be raised because we only have 97 charters. Well, that's obviously a false argument, and maybe some of the people here need to go back and study some algebra, because the number of charter schools will always be equal to or less than 100, because we just a certain period of the year we authorize charters. And each year there's some charters, obviously, that lose their charters for whatever reason. Another point I just want to make is that some of the press has talked about charters not producing models that we can use in North Carolina. The purpose of charters were really to be individual schools. Some, like KIPP, the KIPP organization, do have a model that works. But the purpose of charters, again, is to be competitive, just like our universities. One more point about charters, and I hadn't planned to speak today, so this is kind of off the cuff, is that we already have kind of a market, a built-in market evaluation of charters, and that's based on parental desire and to have their children in charter schools. So we have that as, again, a measure of how charters are doing, which is points to success in the state. And lastly, I wanted to mention a point also raised by some of the groups that are against choice in North Carolina in education, and that is that if we did have more charters or vouchers or tax credits and families could opt out of the public education system, not all parents would make the same effort to find out what was the best educational option for their child. And that's a cruel argument, because that says of the 9 that maybe could get better educations because a particular school might be better, or because 1 couldn't maybe, then that means 9 couldn't do that. So we need to get away from this idea that we're going to have equal outcomes and everybody's going to have the same outcome in education. What we're all striving for is for everybody to have an equal opportunity for a sound basic education. Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks, Senator Goodall, and my assistant has passed you out a collection of all the bills to lift or end the cap on charter schools. If you don't have that, we ask the Democrats to follow their president and get those bills passed. We've also given you 2 packets. I'm going to explain one of these initiatives, and then Representative Laura Wiley, who's prime sponsor of the other, will explain it. And this relates to private school choice. You may remember back in the campaign there was all this discussion about vouchers and how much vouchers would cost. I remember a figure of $900 million. What you're going to find out today is that North Carolina already does vouchers, number 1. Number 2, what we have proposed in these 2 bills are not vouchers. And number 3, not only do they not cost money, but according to fiscal research, they save money on a recurring basis. Why do I say we already have vouchers? Well, about 200,000 North Carolinians receive their education at private institutions. That's about 100,000 in private K-12 schools, about 60,000 in homeschool. About 30-some thousand, I believe, get the legislative tuition grant for college, and then there's also Smart Start. Smart Start is a voucher program. The money is sent to private institutions to provide preschool education for children, some of whom are not, many of whom are not even indigent. I mean, it's not based on ability to pay. Start is that's $1,950 for every student. It goes to the college, then goes to the North Carolina resident, comes off their tuition. Then in addition to that, the state also provides a chunk of money to each of these private accredited four-year schools for additional financial aid to be divided up according to need. So it's a total of about $3,000 per student that is sent to the school, and those actually, I would call those vouchers. What we propose for K through 12, I mean, if this is so wonderful for preschool and so wonderful for college, it's unclear to us why the opposition to assistance at the K to 12 level, but we don't propose vouchers. We propose tax credits, which is a very different thing. The money goes to the taxpayer. The money does not go to the school. In fact, the school would not even necessarily know if a parent or a taxpayer received the credit unless they just happened to ask and the parent happened to tell them. So it is not a voucher. The House Bill 335, filed by myself, Representative McComas, Killian, and Barnhart, provides for $2,500 a year tax credit for those educating their children lawfully outside the public schools. There's a lot of detail to it. This one does have an income limitation of $100,000 a year for married filing jointly and less than that for single. It's a refundable tax credit, which means that the poorest person can take advantage of that, and on the theory that they're paying embedded taxes in sales. They pay sales tax, other taxes, and embedded taxes in the price of goods, and they're saving the state money. I'm not suggesting you read the fiscal note today, but the immediately, although I hope you'll read it today. The fiscal note shows recurring savings from $13 to $35 million a year, just depending on how it works. So let's just hypothetically say about $20 million a year for the state, and another $9 to $25 million for the counties per year, recurring. It does show a first-year cost, but that's because in the first year people are getting the credit, but because of the way we calculate ADM, average daily membership, based on a projected basis, the public schools would still be getting money as if the students were there. But they wouldn't be there, so it's a phantom cost which you could adjust in your other education funding to make that neutral. But for it's a permanent savings, state and county, so that those opposed to this kind of proposal will have to come up with another excuse for opposing it. We have put one limitation on it, which I don't like, but you have to do it in order to make the bill work financially, and that is the students would have had to have first been a year in a public school before qualifying for the credit. They have to have sampled the wares of the public school before that. There's a similar bill which will be filed and was almost identical to a bill last year that Representative Wiley and I filed with Representative Glazier and Lucas, and we plan with Representative Randleman, is she here, to file it again this year, and I'd like Laura Wiley to explain this bill.